nice and handily. Some good winners in our Telegram group as well. Shout out to Shane Tracy, had Foster Moreau on the Thursday night game. There wasn't much else to watch in that game. Hope nobody stayed up for it. But let's get into this weekend's games, mate. And let's talk first. Wembley, Patriots, Jags. I didn't look up what the tickets were going for, the resale sites, mate. But I can't imagine it's much. 6.5, the Jags are laying, mate. And just over even money, 41.5. Would you lay 6.5 with the Jags against anybody currently?
Who on earth is laying 6.5 with the Jags? I was talking about this game earlier. The spot, the situation has to be doing a lot of the lifting in that line because, I assume if you're betting the Jags, they stayed in London for a week. They're going to be acclimated to the time zone, less travel this week. They beat the Bills in the same spot last year as, I think, 6 or 7 point underdogs. So, but that looks fully baked in, doesn't it? Because you had the safety of the Jags last week saying they quit. Basically, he's said I'm at the back of the defense. I can tell when people in front of me have quit, and it felt like they had. I've seen people suggesting that Doug Peterson might have been fired if they weren't staying in London. So you could also, and I think it's probably true that the opposite is true, that staying in London is possibly a negative for this team that doesn't want to be there. They might have given up, and there's a decent chance they're just tooling around Shoreditch and Soho getting off their nut. Isn't that? If you're the Jags, you go, what's the point of this? Let's just have a good time. So they might hate each other. So I don't know. I would say that the best way to play this is a Patriots money line. I'm looking at 3.3 on Matchbook as we speak, and I think you just get some volatility on side because there is absolutely a chance that the Jags have quit. I think everything else, if you just ignore that this line's probably fair because Drake May, he showed a few bits last week, scored some points, moved the ball. What was it? Like it was the highest passing yards a Patriot has had in a couple of years. Is it 3 touchdowns he threw? Something like that? He's
got an arm, to be fair. He hasn't got much weapons. His O-line is still rubbish, but there's plenty of upside with this guy.
There was life. So I just think, even if you forget about the Jags maybe quit, then I think you wouldn't have a bad bet taking a chance at 3.35. It's just ticked up. But there is a very real chance. I don't know how you quantify it. 25%, 30% chance that the Jags have just packed it in and they've just been having a nice time in London this week. And then you got.
Why is this market moving with the Jags though? Like, what are they seeing that we're not seeing?
I think it is the situation. It moved with them last week
because of the extra week. But that, like you said, that can be a negative too. If things are going bad, having that extra week. If you're buoyant and things are going great, then it's all great. But if it's a negative and you just want to go home. And look, it's fine, London or whatever, but that's a long time to be away from home when things are going bad.
Well, especially there was a hurricane in Florida last week.
Yeah, you've got that as well. Yeah,
I think generally the market doesn't buy into teams giving up, does it? The market is run by algorithms ultimately, so you can put in the algo. These guys have just travelled 8,000 miles. That is definitely in people's models, not 8,000. And we saw last week that. The market loved the Jags, didn't they? The Bears -2.5. It went off Pick'em or maybe even Jags -1. So the market likes the Jags. I think it's just the same. I don't think there's any weight given to the fact that they might have quit, which is basically where we might disagree with the market, right?
Yeah, 100%. You could look at backing if you're backing the Patriots in the money line. Why even just have a look at -2.5, something like that? Even
get some match
further. Yeah, totally get you. I'd sooner back that rather than taking the 6.5 just in case. But it's still the Patriots, still a team with plenty of holes, and
Yeah, well, we don't know much about Drake May. I know some smart people. Derek Clarkson, who's at the Athletic now, who loves quarterbacks. He thinks he's very good. So let's buy some volatility. He might be good, and in which case we got a steal. So I think some bigger prices. I'll just look at
you're buying him at the lowest point, really, aren't you? Like probably last week was probably even it's not even as low as this one. They're on the road, directly on the road. They're getting a lot of points, and it's a big price to be betting. Matchbook Betting Exchange are our new partners this year. Delighted to be on board with those guys. I'm actually looking so they can play a couple of ladders plays and a few of these player props as well. So I put up AJ Brown last week as my best bet. What did I put him up at? I put him up at 70 70 plus receiving yards. But again, you can get bigger lines on these ones. That was 186, but these alpha receivers, when they go off, they tend to go off to get the targets, and Matchbook has that. If you don't have a Matchbook account and you want to get involved, and also don't forget, you can place these as singles, so just add one leg to the BetBuilder, and that will cover you there as a single. Use the bonus code when signing up, POD50, POD50, and get 50 quid in free bets once you bet 50. Full terms and conditions can be found on the promotions tab at matchbook.com. Cleveland Browns traded Amari Cooper. He's probably really happy to go to a team in contention. Browns are getting 5.5 at home. We thought that Deshaun Watson would be benched last week. And I think, in all honesty, if the Eagles had just properly played on offense in particular, and there wasn't just these scores for Cleveland via special teams and defense or whatever else, he could have been benched. But I think a recipient of Cooper leaving the targets would be David Njoku. He's working his way back into the team after injury. He had plenty of targets last week. Didn't really kind of capitalizing into yardage. I think he got 31 yards off 5 catches, 7 targets. But he's lying this week at 39.5 at 175. The way this Bengals offense is looking currently, the Browns are going to have to play catch up. I don't believe they can. But Njoku is probably going to be a good look for Watson behind an O-line that can't really protect them. Obviously, we're talking Nick Chubb is coming back as well. A lot of quick stuff. If there was a receptions line of 4.5, I haven't seen that yet. I don't think it's out. I'd be backing that to the over. But from what I have at the moment, 39.5 receiving yards at 175. Njoku gets a lot of that short yardage stuff. It will not be pretty. There won't be a 50-yard splash play here, realistically, but it's more of a usage bet. And Cooper out as well, and Judy hasn't done it for me. So, yeah, give me David Njoku in a positive game script for this bet, but a negative one for Cleveland chasing. May your bet builder last week, in all honesty, like I said, if Eagles score a touchdown or two in the first half, he could have been benched.
Well, yeah, it was a blocked field goal return for a touchdown, wasn't it? Which made it look
better than it was.
Yeah. I would say I saw a cracking bet being passed around, similar to our idea, which was Watson under half a touchdown pass and Amari over half a touchdown reception, which was 300 to 1 or something.
The Telegram group, wasn't it? That was a good one. Yeah.
Yeah, that's the angle still works. Do it.
Yeah, still works. Yeah,
do it with Judy. Like,
do it with someone. Yeah.
Yeah. At some point, they have to bench him. Like, again, I always talk about this quarterback efficiency list from Kevin Cole, adjusted for everything drops and stuff, and it's got Deshaun Watson, the worst quarterback far and away out of how many people have started, 45 or something at this point in the year. Like, he's so bad. And who was talking about it this week?
Was this the Zach Wilson, Tommy DeVito stat where there's only 4 worst quarterbacks in the last 4 years or something?
Yeah, it's out of like 560 EPA quarterbacks last 5 years, and he's like bottom 4. But yeah, like there's former NFL offensive lineman on Twitter this week being like, I just feel so bad for Browns players. The center Myles Garrett out there with a busted leg, busted ankle, and he's like, the team has no chance to win. All these players know it, and it's all because of Deshaun Watson. So, like, yeah, at some point you have to bench him. You have to be able to look the rest of your players in the eye and say, like, we are trying. We're not just about money here. So, I still like the benching angle.
Yeah, and this is why I don't mind, obviously, Njoku's yardage line as well. So, like, I mean, even if Jameis comes in at halftime or whenever, he's still going to be on the field. And, 40 yards plus 175. Short price, you can better up in the ladder at Matchbook to bigger prices for bigger numbers. I think potentially game of the weekend, and definitely probably in the early slot. There's a few good games in the early slot, actually, on Sunday, is the Lions and Vikings. Market moving with the Lions a bit, Brad. They're just slight underdogs now, 2.06 on the money line and getting 1 point. 51 is the total. But talking about first quarter total, 10.5. You can back in the Matchbook at 2.05. Good game scripters, offensive play cards are Ben Johnson and Kevin O'Connell.
We're at 10.5. There was an over 10.
Was there
money. Yeah.
Okay. Well, it's obviously a key number, 100%. I'll change that up. Apologies. Because I know 9.5, you have to pay a bit for, like, 9.5 was like 162 or something like that.
Yeah, I'm looking at Pinnacle now, which is obviously similar pricing to Matchbook most of the time. Over 10, 2.02. So,
cool.
Yeah, that's what I was looking at.
So you got the push. Yeah. Okay. Cool.
Yeah. Well, it's fairly simple. One is you sort by first quarter success rate. And do you know who the 1 and 2 offenses in the league by first quarter success rate are?
I'm guessing the Lions and the Vikings.
It's these two, yeah. It's good fun, isn't it? Yeah, and obviously you get the Vikings off a bye. Kevin O'Connell cooking up his script, so we've got some extra bits in there. Lions had their bye last week, so I'm sure they had one eye on this game, given Dallas last week are a bunch of jokers. So I think we're going to get very good script early in the game. Obviously, Detroit have lost their 2/3 of their quarterback pressures in Aiden Hutchinson. So yeah, I'll probably lean full game over, but it's mainly just we have two of the best script merchants in the league, and you often see that where they go up and down the field in the first quarter, and 2 touchdowns wins it handily.
It should be a good game. It's a high total, obviously, 51.5. But yeah, it's a good game, and it's one we're going to use our BetBuilder of the week. 7 weeks in, we're due a win there, mate, on that one. All right. Dolphins at the Colts probably won't be a well-watched one, but there's a player angle here I like. There's a guy by the name of Tyreek Hill, and he's lying if it's in the late 50s and early 60s. Means there's obviously still no Tua back in the lineup. But I did kind of like few factors here. Miami off the bye, and they're playing a secondary that can't really cover many people at all, and they really struggle against wide receivers that line out wide, and they struggle against the deep ball. And I think I saw just a glimmer with our old friend Snoop Huntley against the Patriots a couple of weeks ago. They might be figuring out something. This is a low line. It's in all honesty, it's a number play. You can back Tyreek 60 plus receiving yards at 198. He's still, I think he got 10 targets against the Patriots, so that's where Snoop was going. I was potentially looking at Jonnu Smith there as well, because bad quarterbacks tend to dump off across the field to tight ends on the intermediate routes. But Tyreek, in all honesty, there's one play cooked up for this guy here against that Colts secondary who are struggle in a major way. They play cover 1, cover 3, but they won't be able to cover Tyreek. And it is a big if, obviously, with Snoop throwing the ball, and obviously Dolphins could go heavy in the run game, but I think there's going to be enough here for Tyreek. And once Tua comes back, in all honesty, if Tua was playing here pre-concussion, pre the last concussion, this line, it could be low 90s, high 80s. We're talking Justin Jefferson numbers this week, who's literally 99.5. So yeah, I'm playing the upside with Tyreek here, 60 plus receiving yards at 198. Brad, Seahawks team total you like? They're getting 3 in Atlanta, 50, another high total here. 50 is the main line total here, you're going to divide and conquer here with the Seahawks team total over 23.5. The market's moving, which is a key number, obviously, mate. It's 178 with Matchbook.
Yeah, that's ticked down 2 ticks. I sent you that this morning. So number one, let's start with, obviously, when we're looking at overs, we want pace, we want, and we want pace and we want passing. And so these two are the second and third fastest offenses in neutral pace. And if we look at pass rate, we have the first and second teams in pass rate. So that's a pretty good start. So I want to go with Seattle specifically because they're 11th in offensive DVOA this season. And basically the only reason they've been slowed down is by good pass rushes. When they play Nick Bosa and co, they can't block that well. They're very weak along the interior of the offensive line. The left tackle's fine, but the rest of it is shoddy. Well, the Falcons come in with the 27th ranked pass rush by pass rush win rate. And basically, yeah, if Gino has time to stand back there with these 3 elite receivers, he's going to slice and dice. So you could go full game over it. I think it was 51.5. The key here to me is the Seahawks cornerbacks. So Tariq Woolen and Trent Brown. I think it's the second one. They're both missing practice all week. It sounds like they're both going to sort of give it a go, see how they feel on game day. But that's, if they're in, I like this, and I like Seahawks +3 probably. If they're out, then I think over 51 is the way to go, because again, Kirk is good when he's not pressured, and the Seahawks don't really pressure. So yeah, this is just the safest way to sort of get rid of that cornerback uncertainty. Seahawks not going to get pressured, and they slice and dice when they're not pressured.
Should be a good game. I was looking at a couple of Drake London props. Their numbers kind of got away from me, so I've just passed on that as well. But yeah, I like to look at that Falcons offense as well. there was a guy I chatted about, I think it was week 2 and week 3, Brock Bowers, and I figured the market hadn't caught up with him. Now, it slightly has caught up with him for different reasons here, in the sense that Devontae Adams, during the week, no major surprise, being traded to play with his good buddy, Mr. Rogers, in New York, and Jacoby Myers missed practice on Wednesday and Thursday. So whoever is playing quarterback, it doesn't really matter with the Raiders for Bowers. He is their number one target. And I don't think the line is quite caught up here again, but he's 60 plus now. So early in the season, we were like 45, 50. I still don't think it's caught up enough in terms of the usage for this guy. And also the Rams versus tight ends this season, they ranked dead last in DVOA against this position. They're potentially playing a bit of catch up in this game as 3-point dogs. There's no major home advantage here for the Rams either. But even in the last 2 games against the Broncos and Steelers, and these are better defenses than the Rams. He's had 12 targets against the Broncos, 8 receptions, 97 yards. Against the Steelers, 10 targets, 9 receptions, 71 yards. So for me, I wouldn't be against anyone going up to 75 plus here and getting plus money on this price. Bowers is a beast in a bad offense, but he's kind of their only offense at the moment as well. They can't really get the running game going either. So 1.8, Brock Bowers, 60 plus receiving yards for me in this one. Monday Night Football, Brad. I like the look at this game. The Ravens at the Bucs. Bucs getting 3.5, 186. 49.5 is the total. But again, with that total, high expectancy of scoring here, you're dividing and conquer. Ravens team total over 27.5. What price was this again? Sorry, I missed it on my thing, man.
This was better than evens, I believe. Let me check. It was. I think it was even money when I checked this morning. It is 2.04 on Pinnacle currently again, which is similar to Matchbook. Or you always go ask the brokerage if you want to bet more money and get a price like this.
Again, Matchbook brokerage at plug. No, they're not even a sponsor. It's a different entity of Matchbooks.
Is it a different entity?
No, I don't think so. No, it's a different department. I wasn't dealing with them.
Well, I thought we'd give them some free promo. Yeah, so 2.04 ish at the minute. So number 1, Ravens first in offensive DVOA. It's a good place to start. Number 2, they what I like specifically about this matchup is the Bucs. When they're in base defense, they are dead last in the NFL in a new metric. Nate Tice talking about this a lot. He calls it success rate and explosive play rate combined. So Bucs in base defense, dead last. Now, guess who plays by far the most two or fewer tight ends? Basically, the Ravens come out in this sort of heavier formation, and the Bucs will match it in base defense, which they're terrible in. The Ravens are lapping the field in two or more tight ends on the field. And they also lead the league in EPA from those formations. So, I mean, as far as I can see, the Bucs are kind of fucked. The Ravens will come out heavy. Either they match in base defense and they get cooked through the air because the Ravens come out with play action, basically what they did to Washington last week. Yeah. Or if they want to try and go nickel, and they will just get mauled for 6 yards of carry by Derrick Henry and Lamar. So there's no good options here. Now, again, the uncertainty here is I'm not really sure what the Bucs are going to do, because obviously they've scored a lot of points. They've got their offensive line fully intact this week because they've missed their center last week. They've been missing their right tackle a lot this season. So they're going to have a good offensive line, and the Ravens can be got deep. We spoke last week about them against giving up a lot of explosive plays, like bottom 5 explosive play rate allowed. And the Bucs do that. But Mike Evans has got a hammy. He tweaked a hammy yesterday. And if it's just Chris Godwin, then suddenly I think this offense looks a little bit different. So I'm just leaving it out. I'm just counting on the Ravens to just mash them, basically.
I'm going to play slightly devil's advocate. Just regards the Bucs offense, my sense is that Evans will be fine. I'm not majorly worried about him, because I think the Baltimore secondary, where they really get carved, is against the slot receivers. And we talked about it earlier in the season. Luke Cohen is using Godwin almost exclusively in the slot now, which is what Canales wasn't doing last year, and it just really suits him this year. And he's getting plenty of looks there. And just from his line, so he's 70 plus at 1.7. And you're obviously paying a bit for that. But again, he's hitting this total nearly every week now. And in terms of it'll be a positive game script for them because they'll have to score to keep up with this Baltimore offense, in my opinion, just off the back of what you said there as well. And 70 plus receiving yards, 1.7. But a guy who is having a terrific season is his quarterback, Baker Mayfield. One crosses the other. And Baltimore secondary, as you touched on, 26th in opponent's yards per pass attempt, 27th in opponent dropback EPA, and 23rd in opponent dropback success rate. So I think Mayfield, and even you see him last week against the Saints, like he will throw the odd pick, doesn't really matter, having a great season, and I think he'll get plenty here. So he's passing line that I bet here is 275 plus passing yards at 225. The only worry is that some of these Ravens drives may eat a bit of clock, but I think there's enough explosiveness in that Ravens offense that they're actually getting up to the ball quick and going quick, and there is the deep stuff for Zay Flowers. So if they're scoring to complement your bet over 27.5, I think the Bucs are going to have to keep up, and I think Mayfield is a good quarterback, and he's having a great season this year as well. Also, Ravens defense, they've given up the most pass plays of 20 plus yards, 28 through 6 games, which is a lot for that. So they're a great offense, but defensively this season they're struggling. That's a good game, man. That's one of those Monday night ones that you'd nearly stay up for and be tired on Tuesday for. BetBuilder of the week, you're not staying up for. I'm definitely not either. I say all these things. The last Super Bowl might be the only one for me. I'd say that. BetBuilder of the week, man. We'll double back to the Lions versus the Vikings. Here's what I've gone for. On the Vikings side of the ball, they're going to find it hard to run against this Lions defense. Every offense does have a problem running against this Lions defense. Aiden Hutchinson out, but more of a factor in the pass rush game than the run stopping game. So I booked Sam Darnold 2+ passing touchdowns. He's off the bye. He had a poor game against London against the Vikings. I think he bounces back here. There's still holes in that Lions secondary. I think he exploits that. And on the backside of that, Justin Jefferson, he's pretty good. The highest receiving line of the week. So I'm chucking him in there at a big number, 100 plus receiving yards. But I think they're going to have to pass here for success. And I think the Lions stay with them in a high total game. Lions side of the ball, guy scores a touchdown every single game this season and last season, and he hasn't stopped yet. David Montgomery, I think he's at 162 straight up. Put him in there as well. And Amon-Ra St. Brown, 70 plus receiving yards. This Vikings defense is obviously very good, but they actually do give up the explosive plays from time to time. And I even saw Garrett Wilson against them at Wembley. You can get them eventually if you can protect the quarterback, which I think Detroit should be able to do. 7.5. And if you back at a match book, if it loses, if you have the 10 quid on, you get 10 quid back in free bets. Any thoughts on that one, mate?
No, I think I like the Lions offense. I like that. I think I like points. Well, we spoke about earlier about the first quarter. I saw the stat the Lions are the best team in the NFL against the blitz so far this year, which is probably very good for what they're going to get from Flores. Last year, he blitzed Goff 73% of the time, I think, which is an insane amount. So I think, that offensive line is intact. I think they can probably pick it up and they'll have their fun. And yeah, we do think the Lions are probably pretty weak on defense without Hutchinson. And if they're going to try and play man against Jefferson and Addison, they probably do get cooked as well. So yeah, I like some overs.
Coordinator matchup of the week, isn't that? Flores versus Ben Johnson. That's you pay money to see that stuff, man. Indulge me here for a second. I don't see a line yet for Devontae Adams. So the Jets are playing the Steelers, but I did see a line for Garrett Wilson, who's 55.5. If you look at the projections for touchdown, Adams is a shorter price than Wilson. Doesn't automatically correlate into the receiving yards, but if someone is chucking up Devontae Adams at late 50s, early 60s, I'm backing unders on that one. I really do not see the hype here. I think I'm not going to say he's totally past it, but this whole Rodgers Devontae Adams thing, it's going to go, if they don't win on Sunday night, this thing will go sideways when they're 2-5 and the New York media is on Rodgers, who's essentially, there's different little vibes about if he's behind Salah getting canned. I don't think he is, but the personality, and he's on Pat McAfee during the week and all this kind of clown show that's there. So I think the Steelers secondary could bottle him up. And yeah, it could be a long night. I think it's the running game that gets it done for the Jets, if at all. But if someone starts putting up a stupid line, I know he's going to get the targets. Is my only worry, because like the way Rodgers is, he'll just keep feeding Devontae Adams almost to prove a point. But I don't know if you have any thoughts on that one, Matt.
No, I mean it's a big roll of the dice, isn't it? Like as you say, if they're 2-5. If they lose this game and they're 2-point favourites, and there's a pretty good chance they don't win this game, suddenly the season is unraveling. I don't know. I kind of believe in the mind meld that they had. I kind of like I just think they don't need that much practice, because he just throws back shoulder balls to him, doesn't it?
Yeah.
It's not like you need to be here in 8 steps and then here in 2.5 seconds, right? It's just you run down there. I'm going to throw you the ball to the back shoulder. Go and grab it. Personally think it's an offense from 4 or 5 years ago. I don't see it in terms of the way the league is adapted. But anyway, look, we'll come back to that in the Telegram group. Let's do a recap. I don't know if you put it in a selection, but it's more of a lean for those backing or putting a bet on the Wembley game. Patriots money line is good value currently at 3.35 at Matchbook. I've gone with David and Njoku in the Browns-Bengals game over 39.5 receiving yards, 175. The next game, Lions-Vikings, Brad's gone over 10, a flat 10 at 2.02 in the first quarter. I've gone with my old friend Tyreek Hill, 60-plus receiving yards in the Dolphins-Colts. Brad's gone with the Seahawks team total over 23.5 in the Raiders-Rams game. Brock Bowers, he's their number one receiver for the Raiders, 60-plus receiving yards. Do not put anyone off playing it up the ladder here. He is the main target here for Aidan O'Connell. Ravens team total, Brad, is like an over 27.5 in the same game. I like Baker Mayfield, 275 plus passing yards, 2.25, and Chris Godwin, 70 plus receiving yards in the slot against that Ravens secondary. Brad, best bet of the week, sir. Let's go Ravens. I think just with the rushing they have such a solid floor that if it loses because they score 27. But they just feel very sound to me.
All right, I'm taking Brock Bowers. I had him earlier in the season too. That didn't win that time. That was his worst game of the season. But I think he gets it done this time, sir, against the Rams secondary. Can't really cover anyone either. So 60 plus receiving yards, 1.8. You can probably sense a bit like Josh Downs last season, mate. That's my man crush this year, and he's got a kind of he's 22 years of age, and he's got an old man's head as well with the receiving hair. I like it. He's like a proper old school fullback, man. I like the guy.
I remember the picture going around. I think it was him at the combine or something in just some crap shoes and shorts, and everyone going, "Oh, he's not got any swag. He's going to be a grinder."
No swag. Absolutely no swag. I absolutely love it. All right. Thanks for listening today. Thanks for watching, folks. Very much appreciated. If you're listening on your podcast app, give us a preferable review, all that kind of jazz. We do appreciate